Hello and welcome to Opening Doors Podcast. I am here with Star Granger and real excited to be able to dig in, talk about her story, talk about the work that she's doing now with the great organization SWAG, Sisters with a Goal. So welcome, Star.
Thank you for having me.
So what led to you being incarcerated? And what are some of the details that you feel like you can share?
All right, I went to prison for first-degree murder. I was charged in 1983. I did 35 years incarceration straight. I didn't come home until 2018. I was 17. I was a juvie, so I came home under the law. Montgomery versus Alabama, I think the science behind a child's, mind not being, full capacity to, so science have, said that 17 is the date, but I feel like it should be like 21 or 26.
Science today actually says that your mind is not fully grown until you're 25, I believe.
Yeah, so
17 is pretty young.
For them to cut that off that young, but I'm grateful. Don't think that I'm not, because I was supposed to die in prison. My sentence was to die in prison. In Pennsylvania, life means life. There is no parole or nothing. So being blessed to, qualify, because parole is a privilege. They can deny it. And I'm glad my track record in prison helped me to navigate, to come home, because a lot of people are still there. I've done a lot of things while I was in prison. After made my bones, got acclimated, but then being...
What does that mean, made my bones?
You learn how to live in prison.
Okay.
You gain respect or whatever from staff or your peers, whatever. And being in that environment, being raised as the youngest one at the time on campus, around a lot of older women, some predators and some were not. That helped me navigate where I think I needed to be at some point in my life. Meaning that prior to me coming to prison, I didn't, actually associate jail with, forever. I don't know what I thought. I think I might have thought what society thought, that you go to jail, you come home, and you're better or whatever.
Oh, right. Like you go to jail, you they fix you.
No,
yeah,
no. You got to fix yourself.
So is that something you believed while you were in jail? Like, okay, I'm going to get fixed while I'm here.
Well, yeah and no. Because the reason why I said fixed and used that word, because coming from your typical dysfunctional black family, being raised in projects, growing up with a single parent, you have dysfunctional way of thinking. And that's why I said fixed, because it gave me a different way to think, but not who I am as a whole, because what my mother instilled upon me before, being incarcerated, they stripped away once I got there.
So do you feel like what your mother instilled in you needed to be stripped away?
No, not all of it. Like some of my morals and my values. Because in prison, they want you to think like a man, look like a man, feel like a man, be like a man. Even though they're telling you you're a female. But they take and make you dress like the men. They strip you down to, uniforms, your bare necessities, like a man. So, they want you to cut your hair, you know what I mean? Something like the army, but it's the penal colony.
Yeah, no, it's any prettification, I guess, or beautification is out the window.
Yeah, it's stripped away. You try to hold on the best you can by doing things you remember doing, things you like doing, things that made you feel good. As far as with yourself, like as far as doing your hair, your nails, whatever, but they don't encourage that. Matter of fact, they encourage just the opposite. So a lot of things my mother put in me, they literally stripped away.
Was your mother still living when you got out?
No, she had passed away in 2012.
I'm so sorry.
2012, yeah. from cancer, colon cancer.
Right. We discussed that.
Yeah. So, but she tried to hold on because the law passed in 2012. But I didn't come home to 2018. There was a discrepancy with my birth certificate, of all things. Can't make this up.
No, you can't. It blows my mind, the stories I hear of like the details that keep people in when they should be out.
Well, they didn't have no problem with my birth certificate when they locked me up.
Right?
But letting me out, my lawyer literally had to pay out of pocket because my mother, like I said, had passed and we couldn't find the original. And the courts had the nerve to say they don't accept copies. Don't ask me, it's the law. Some kind of way my lawyers found a way around
Right,
it.
you're incarcerated. You are a warden of the state. They had to have a birth certificate to get you in there.
Yeah, that part.
Wow.
Part. So that messes with your psyche. It helps you to understand a lot of things you didn't understand before. Like when I came home, I didn't understand the dynamics of how they want to help you, but then they don't want to help you. It's like it's set up to fail. You know, a prime example. Yesterday, I went for colonoscopy right down the street at Jefferson. I don't live that far. I could have rode my bike there because I do bike. So long story short, come to find out, if I didn't have a ride to bring me home, even if I was going to pay for an Uber or a Lyft, hold that. I was going to literally pay for an Uber or a Lyft to take me home.
It's not good enough
It's not good enough. So they was going to deny me medical treatment based on that.
that you didn't have a ride.
I did have one, but they would have if I didn't.
Yeah.
And that's horrible. That's just like, but you say you want us to succeed in life, but y'all set oppositions up against us. It's all against us. And for what? And for what? It doesn't make sense. Like when I came home, they didn't even tell me how to navigate technology. They gave me a key card to get my money off of. I guess it was some kind of debit card.
You went into prison in 1983?
Yeah.
The whole world changed when you came home.
3 decades and a half, right?
And like everything changed.
And they had nothing set up, not for females. And that's another thing, it's more men than women. So a lot of things they had calculated when we came home was for men, not women. So we had to figure out, like, to find a way to make it fit us. We literally had to, again, fit in a man's world.
So a lot of the reentry programs are geared towards men and not women.
I want to say like 99.9% of them.
Now, I know you said that you went through the Uplift program.
Graduated successfully, started working, yeah.
And now you're a student at the Community College of good old Philadelphia.
Yes.
You want to talk a little bit about that?
By way of I Am More, I got
yeah.
in community college. I received the invitation to participate in I Am More. I found it interesting, just the fact that I can go to school, and that so many people actually there to want to help me go to school. So then I realized I was in the wrong profession since I've been home.
What profession had you been in?
Nonprofit advocacy. I consulted for the ACLU for a year and a half, almost 2. Started my own organization, co-founded SWAG. Sisters with the Goal, which is the social justice arm of Why I Prosper. I was in the wrong business. I should have went back to school.
So what business are you trying to get into through your degree?
Hopefully change some policies.
Nice.
I'm
nice.
studying criminal law and computer science. Hopefully to change policies, because the way a lot of policies stand for juveniles today, if the child is being abused in the household, the courts tend to err on the side of caution and send that child back home in that same environment. That's not, easing anything or helping anyone. And then we have this outbreak of kids shooting kids now. I call it an outbreak. It superseded COVID to me.
Absolutely.
And I don't know why. So if we can get some policies changed and something more geared towards, a child doesn't even have the right to vote until they're a certain age, but you can go to jail and do life. That's wrong.
Right. No, I agree.
It's like an oxymoron. You know what I mean? How can you not be able to vote to help change the law or become a constituent, but you can go to prison?
My thing is when you're taking a kid out of a home or when there's an issue in the home, what that child needs is treatment. What that family needs is treatment. And so for me, I feel like the best thing to do would be to make sure they're in a situation where their trauma is being dealt with, because nothing's going to change if you don't focus on some of that root damage.
Well, let me tell you a story that happened to me here in this beautiful city. I'm a thoroughbred Philly, born and raised in South Philly. All right, so prior to me getting arrested, I'm gonna say maybe a month before I got arrested, I sought help.
Okay.
And was denied by two of the prominent institutions here, which was Hanneman and Jefferson.
What kind of help were you looking for?
Mental. I was suicidal.
Oh.
And one of the doctors testified at my hearing. I think he used the word that I fell through the cracks.
Oh.
Now let's fast forward to me being incarcerated and getting the help that I so desperately needed. And look at me now. I'm in treatment at 100%. You can't help but wonder if I would have got treatment in '83, where would I might have been?
And that's kind of the heartbreak. But
People say that you could say never, but you have to wonder if I received the treatment and took it upon myself to initiate the treatment incarcerated. And if I took the initiative to actually walk into Hanneman and to walk into Jefferson and was refused, where would I might be? I mean,
So they refused you because you had no insurance or because you were underage? Why were
probably
you?
Both. Probably both. I'm just telling you what it's in the court records. One of the doctors, they finally got one of the doctors to come, and he did remember me, ironically.
Wow.
He looked right across the courtroom at me, and he was like, I do remember. You know what I mean? And he literally said that I fell through the cracks. I guess it was busy that day, or they were overwhelmed or something. I don't know, but those are the words that's in my transcripts.
I'm so sorry. It's but you're here now.
Yeah.
And and you're making up for lost time.
I hit the ground running. I haven't had a bit of rest since, but I love it because I'm into self-care. I have a therapist that I see once a week. So his name is Steve. I've been with him for almost a couple of years now. He's a psychologist, not a psychiatrist. And so I'm into self-care, but I hit the ground running. I mean, I had a job 2 weeks after I was home. So I was already my mindset was already there. My heart was fixed, my mind was focused. And got into a car accident coming from work. Drunken driver hit the bus I was on.
Oh, no.
I slammed into the thing, tore my discus in my knee.
And that's why you have pain now.
Yeah. So got past that. Then I went to Uplift. And successfully, I know I'm at the top of my class, that cohort. And I went on and got a job, another job. And because my job was cashier, and I didn't tell my doctor, because I was just wanting to keep my job and stay in school and stuff. I ended up messing my knee up more by standing on it. So
oh, no.
Then he took me out altogether.
So tell me a little bit about Sisters with a Goal, which SWAG. SWAG is a great acronym.
All right. We birthed it over COVID. I was blessed to meet Reverend Michelle Simmons at a photo shoot for People's Paper Co-op. We clicked. She also did time in California, on the West Coast, but she's from Philly. So long story short, she has a nonprofit transitional living for women named Why Not Prosper.
Why Not Prosper, right.
And because I was certified as a certified peer specialist in prison, I came home certified, and she was shorthanded at her job. She needed house monitors. And I said, okay, I'll do it. I can give you one day of the week, which was a Sunday. We met one day. She said, Faith Bartley, who was also the other founder of SWAG, came up with an idea, to get back, because I was Faith mentor of state.
Oh, okay.
So, okay, long story short, so we birthed it over COVID. So what we learned and what we're trying to do now, we learned that women are scared to come forth about a lot of things. a lot of women in the streets today are scared of their kids.
Oh, they're scared of their kids.
Yeah, a lot of women, so they don't actually know how to actually navigate between the drugs and the guns. So we found this out by trial and error, dealing with different organizations and institutions like the insurance people and things like that. We had a lady that was one of our prospects named Doris Manning. We have a fund in her name named Doris Manning Fund. So long story short, she came home from prison, but they didn't send her with her medication that she needed. And the insurance had already issued the medication to that particular, I'm going to say zip code, and would not reissue it and would not refund it. So she ended up self-medicating and dying. And we looked at that very, very hard and long. And it was like, we have to, step into the social justice arena and come from under transitional living only. We need to get out and engage the community and bring awareness to things that's happening, the things that people would not think is happening, behind closed doors that is actually happening. And that's how we came to be. And right now, we, partnered up with MacArthur. They granted, they fund us.
Nice.
We're rolling right along. We have a hotline. We also have a website. We have resource centers. We have pop-up vans. We engage the community.
So if someone has an issue, like they're struggling with something, they can call your hotline.
We got an answer for it. We got a resource for it.
Okay, and you can say, okay, this is where you need to go to get help with this.
We're going to direct you, if not make the call for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
What I also learned is a lot of women and some men are not, that literate. So
And that's a big thing of shame, and people don't want to admit it.
and they won't, especially men. That's what I think the kids is going through, with this shooting stuff, because they really don't know how to read or write, a lot of them. So they know they're not gonna hold a powerful job, so they want to become robbers and stuff. But that's another story. But so we're literally like come to you, like, so if you knew somebody who's getting out of prison, didn't have nowhere to go, she can come to Why Not Prosper. We'll come pick her up.
Right. I mean, that to me is enormous. The whole idea of leaving prison and not knowing where you're going to go and not having ID and you're let out and good luck.
Well, that's what we're working on now. Like, we're going to go to the prisons and feed the women. I was a part of an organization called the COVID Champions. I was the founder, one of the founders of it. And we used to go into jails on State Road every Wednesday to talk about COVID, during COVID, over COVID. And we came up with a plan because they gave it back to us. They said, well, y'all did time. I had to walk past the same cell I did time into. Yeah, I just did a workshop in Muncie too, but I'll get to that in a minute. So anyway, long story short.
Wow.
I said, well, the only way you're going to get these women to actually want to participate in this
Right.
is money.
Yeah. No, people need an incentive.
So we gave them commissary.
Okay.
We said, get the flu shot. Not the flu shot, get the COVID shots. Get your boosters. We have a list here. We hear every Wednesday. And we're going to, and the main thing about when you're making promises like that, keep your word. So we had to keep our word. So every Wednesday, if somebody said they didn't get their commissary, we followed up on it.
Okay. You
And
were
they
their
got it.
advocate. You were their advocate.
And they got it. You know what I mean? I would be like, put your name right here because you should have got it last week. Trust me, I'll handle that. And I did.
And that's super important because, I mean, I haven't experienced it, but from the people I've spoken to, it's so crucial to have an advocate while you're inside.
It's very, very important, one that knows what they're doing. Because, see, that's where we had it in at, being allowed to come back in the prisons after we had just left. We knew what we were looking at. So from that, we were allowed to bring out their grievances as well because some CEO took it upon herself and threw away 30 of them. That was witnessed, and it was verified.
Throw away 30 what?
Grievances that the inmates had filed.
Got
so
it.
they didn't get filed. So when they got back to us, you know what I mean? It was like, okay, we took it back to our bosses, with at the time it was ACLU and women's working group. So I said, we got to do something about that. We just can't have them feeling like that the system is just telling them, we're going to piss on y'all and tell y'all it's raining. That's not going to go well. You want to get this COVID thing under control because they releasing people back into society every day. It's a controlled environment, so we need to come up and be a little more present and let them know that we're not just blowing smoke up their butts. So from that, we was allowed to bring their grievances out. So we took it a step further. It's just
And
COVID.
then that's great. And then once those grievances were out, were you able to follow up on whether or not any changes were made around them?
Yeah, you might have heard about it, but last year or two, we trying to shut down the prisons on State Road. You might have heard a little blurb about it, and when we working hard.
Woohoo! Go Star!
Yeah, we working hard. So yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
listeners, I have to say that Star is one of the busiest women I know. She is always on doing something, on to the next. So I'm very lucky that we got to get this time together.
I know, right? But I think that the most important part about what we're up against today now is not just, dealing with the trauma, but dealing with how people are perceiving it.
You mean like other people,
Society.
how they look at you like,
How
oh, you
society
have.
is perceiving trauma.
Oh.
Because it doesn't apply. How do you say, if it don't apply, let it fly until it's in their backyard. That's what we're up against today. It ain't so much the trauma, it's how people is perceiving it. Because, you got these people who always say that you worries me people, or they got a Black Lives Matter, they always got a right to this. And, It's your perception. It's your perception. So what do you do with your perception when you look in the mirror? You know what I mean? What do you come away with? Because it has to be important for you to navigate the next day to socialize with society. And that's not happening very well. People are literally in their own little
Bubbles.
shells. Like, you know what I mean? They literally just shut down. Like they don't want to participate anymore.
Because,
if that makes sense.
So you mean people that have been traumatized are like, I'm done. I don't want to try.
Yeah. And if they do try, then they proceed wrong and they get the wrong help.
Okay. So that's where I think peer navigation and peer support is so important in for people that, that have been that are coming out, to be able to get help from other people that have experienced it, for people that that may have been addicted, to get help from someone else who experienced it. That peer connection is so crucial, because it is kind of hard to understand what somebody went through unless you went through it yourself, or you understand it differently,
And then it goes back to, like, I was raised differently than what you were raised, right? So people have a tendency of thinking like it's the norm.
Right.
This is how I was raised. No. Because not everything is not always about money. It's what you do with it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I think money is the easy part. Is what you do with it. So when a person hear money and a person seeking help, they automatically shut down. The person seeking help from, if that makes sense.
You mean if they hear, like, oh, this is going to cost me?
Like insurance people didn't accept the fact that alcohol is an addiction.
Right. Okay.
They automatically shut down from it. They didn't want no parts of it for a very, very long time, until people kept beating that drum. Mm-hmm. You see the point I'm making?
Yeah.
It goes the same way with human nature. When people's dealing with a person who might be experiencing trauma, it's not so much they want to deal with the trauma, but it's actually how the person is perceiving it to get a person the help they need, if that makes sense. Because I'm not going to give you the right kind of help if I don't know, if I actually haven't been there to understand it, to listen.
It's hard, I think, and that's no, totally. There's a really good book by Oprah and Dr. Bruce Perry, and it talks a lot about how trauma affects the brain, and they tell a story. He tells a story about this boy who was always lashing out at this teacher, and they realized later on that the teacher wore the same kind of aftershaves that his dad wore, and his dad had beaten him. Mm-hmm. And when they finally figured that out, which is not an easy thing to figure out because the boy didn't even register it, the guy didn't wear the aftershave, and then they became really close, and the teacher was able to help him. I mean, it can be that
simple.
Yeah. That's
And
simple, but also that hard to figure out.
Because you turn a blind eye, because we're so used to hearing about trauma. I think the world's traumatized about hearing about trauma. So you turn a blind eye.
Right?
I'm keeping it 100 because it's about helping. So you got to be able to keep it honest and look at it on both sides, you know. So yeah, young nigga, if he hadn't or whoever connected those dots with
Right.
the cologne, he might not even graduate from school.
Right. Right.
I mean, that could have went 80 ways, 90 ways wrong
Exactly.
based on a scent.
Exactly. And so that's how kind of deep these things can be, and on the surface. Like, that's on the surface, but to get to that, you need to be someone who really understands the science.
Well, I know from my situation, like coming from where I came from and being denied help when I needed help, you have to find a way not to be bitter so you can keep seeking the help that you need. And how do you do that when you're thrown into a penal colony? It's kind of like a
How have you done
non-existent.
it? So how have you
That's
been
what
able
I'm
to
saying.
not stay bitter?
That's what I'm saying. I was blessed to have people in my life that genuinely had my best interest at heart. Genuinely had my best interest at heart. I was really blessed in that area. But I've seen how so many people were not. And it made me pay attention more to their plights and situations. That's why I became a certified peer specialist.
Okay.
We were the first in the country in prison to become certified. And we worked in the field. As soon as we graduated, we had peers like 2 days later.
So you were still in
prison,
and you were working with other prisoners to try and kind of just
Yeah.
help them navigate being in prison because
I
you've
hope,
been there.
like, we would get assigned, like, a peer, one of our peers. We'd be assigned to them, like, 3 months at a time. I would come to the unit, help them with, a lot of women were low functioning that we work with, but a lot of my women were high functioning as well that sought me out, you know, for help. But help with the commissary, writing letters, you know, life skills, things like that. We worked in the field, and we were also allowed to go in there when they talked with the psychiatrists about their plan and their medication, because we were able to convey what they couldn't.
Okay. To the psychiatrist.
Yeah,
Wow. Almost like a parent.
the guardian.
A guardian. Yeah. Which,
Yeah.
so you spent the bulk of your young adult life behind bars. And how long have you been on the other side? How long have you been out?
I came home in 2018. This is my
Okay.
6th year coming up. Yeah, but I was in jail longer than I walked the free world.
Star, thank you so much for your time. And thank you so much for the work you do to help people.
Well, get the word out there. I mean, because men still outnumber us 10 to 1.
But
Let's
women
not-
need help.
Let's not get away from that. And they still make more money than we do to this day. And as long as that's going to be an issue, we really haven't moved that far from being barefoot and pregnant. Sorry.
It's okay.
We really haven't. That's why they still make more money than we do. And we need to band together.
Yes, we do, women.
We do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.